You don't mean it. I thought, you know what, I'm not a pianist, but I'm a piano player. Casey, honey, I'm gonna arrange a song just for you to play. It's gonna make you sweat like crazy. It's called Goodbye World Goodbye. If y'all ready for this, somebody say, here we go.
Here we go.
All right, here we go. worshiping the Lord together this morning. This is great. I once heard someone say, we're not singing to you, we're worshiping the Lord. We just happen to be here. I like that. That's pretty cool. This is Piper. She's 2. Say hi. Oh, wait, me on here. Got to have her own microphone. Say hi. There we go. She's not a diva, is she? She learned from Andrea. Oh, I'm kidding. Okay. Piper's 2. She's a lot of fun. This is Elena. Elena is 4. She's trouble. Can you tell? How many middle children out there? How many middle kids right there? Yeah, I see. I can see the mischievous in your eyes. I can see it. I know. And then this is Bryn. Bryn is 6 years old. Hi, Bryn. Hi. 2, 4, 6. Somebody said, you can have no one. We're like, no. We're all done. No more children. It's okay. We love her so much. They are our babies. They go all that. We do about 40,000 miles a year all over the country. And for the first time ever, this past year, we did more services than Mark and Andrea Forrester. There we go. Somebody texted me and say, John, I need you. No, I'm kidding. God is good, and we are all on the same team for Jesus Christ. Amen. I'm loving it. Can they sing for you this morning? Is that okay? Are you ready? Okay. Hey, let's do what they can do with us. How about if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, okay? All right, so it's gonna be clap your hands, stomp your feet, shout hooray. You got the order, clap your hands, clap your hands. And we're doing it because that's what our life will surely show it, right? And when you have Jesus Christ in your life, it really shows, doesn't it? All right, here we go. Ready, girl? Oh, dear. Now, look cute. Here we go. Now, Piper's 2, she only knows a few words, and one of her favorite words is no. Y'all remember the no stage, right? Some of you are thinking, I'm still going through that stage, and he's 47. I know. It's okay. You ready? Ready to sing your song? Sometimes we gotta tell the old devil no. Here we go.
Ready? You sure?
All right.
Really? Hide it under a bushel. No. Come let shine. Hide it under a bushel. No. Come let shine. Hide it under a bushel. No. Come let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. I won't let Satan blow it out. No. Come let it shine. No, I won't let Satan blow it out. No. Come let it shine. I won't let Satan blow it out. No. Come let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
That's how it's done. All right. The Munchkins will be back at 1:30, and I'll do some more music for you. After what time? I should get you up there at the right time. Yeah. Oh, good. All right, 6 minutes. Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right, here we go. Real quick, and let me set the last song for you this morning. Before I do that, I'm going to do this. Mark said, always bring your own keyboard. Always bring your own speakers. Don't rip your pants. And mention that you have product in the back. And he always said, oh, boy, mention that. I said, yes, sir. I always do that. He said, you know what? When you donate to us back there and you take product with you, you're supporting our ministry, and that means more to us than anything. It's so awesome when you invest in our lives like that. So we do CDs back there, 6 different projects. I think, as far as I know, we have the exact same deals with Mark and Andrea because they trained us. So there you go. We have 6 projects, 3 for 20, 6 for 30, USB for 40, T-shirts for 20, but a whole pack, all of that stuff for $60. And all those numbers are just numbers. You can give whatever God's telling you to give, less or more. It's up to you, and that'll be a blessing to us so much. If you want to get the box, that takes us 250 miles, and that's the best deal on the table. It has 12 CDs in it, the USB drive, a T-shirt, any color, any size you want, and then it's a great tool to evangelize and get the word out, because every single project has a 5-minute gospel invitation at the end, so the listener can know Jesus Christ as Savior. One day, we were in the barn with Mark and Andrea. The barn, no. the barn with Mark and Andrew. We did that. We were hanging out talking. There's a barn in Florida we hang out in by our trailers. And we said, you know what? We're missing something doing this ministry. And we talked about it. Kate's like, what if we put like an invitation at the end where we all go, why haven't we been doing that all along? It's great. So we started doing that. It's a great idea, a great tool to reach out for Jesus Christ. Think about doing that for us. We go through a lot of valleys in this life, don't we?
Right.
And I once thought, Pastor, that our life was like a golf cart ride. And I quickly realized it's more like a roller coaster. Have we realized this?
Right.
The older we get, the more our roller coaster does these kind of things, right? And you say, wow, there's a big hill and a big valley, and life's going fantastic. Wow, look at the people who trust Christ. We've seen 635 people trust Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. That's awesome. Then all I get is something, oh, van trouble. We can't get to our church. What do we do? God bless us back on the mountaintop. And you have this roller coaster ride going on in all aspects of life, not just the ministry, but everything going on, right? We found ourselves in the valley a few years back. We lost a baby. We had a miscarriage. And when life throws something like that in your direction, what's the first question we ask?
Why?
Why? And no matter what that trial might be, the question why always comes first. Why? And usually it's directed upwards. God, why did this happen to me? And I realized we spent 2 weeks walking around in circles, didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to say. We were numb. And I got a call from my pastor back home. He said, John, how you doing? And I told him what happened. He said, have you been reading God's Word? And I couldn't lie. And I said, no. And I said, I'm mad. I'm mad at life. I'm mad at God. I'm mad at my family. I'm mad at me. Is it my fault? I don't know. I don't understand. Why? He said, John, God has something to speak to you.
Right.
But you have to be in His Word to find out what it is.
Got it.
And I said, yes, sir. And he said, I want you to read Matthew chapter 11. And I said, okay. He said, I'll wait.
Right.
That's how awesome my pastor is. He knew I wasn't going to do it. So I read it. I got to the end. He could hear me crying. He said, I know you got to the last 3 verses, and he hung up. Matthew 11, 28, 29, and 30 says this, come unto me,
That's it.
all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
Right.
Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your, what's that word? Souls. How? For my yoke is easy,
Right.
and my burden is light. Jesus Christ can take your problem and carry it for you if we give it to Him. We can't move forward with an anchor pulling us back. And no matter what we go through in this life, there's another mountain coming. There's another mountain coming because God is good no matter what. Kate wrote this song a while back. I hope it speaks to you this morning. God is good all the time. And all the time, listen.
Days are sometimes dreary, and you don't know what to do. Trust in God and He will always see you through. 'Cause God's so good to me. He's so good to me. Gave His life on Calvary to save us sinners.
path. God, if anyone here this morning does not know Jesus Christ as their personal Savior, not a head knowledge, not a I've been to church a while, not a I was baptized one time. God, if someone here does not know Jesus Christ in their heart and have a personal relationship with them, this morning could be the morning. Thank you for Pastor Bill and for the sermon he's about to bring. May it just encourage us and get us going and revved up and energized and encouraged for you and help us reach someone for Jesus Christ this week. In his name we pray. And everybody said,
Well, I'm never going to play the piano again. Oh, goodness. I thought he was going to take his shoe off and play with his foot. Hey, that's a challenge, brother. I challenge you to do it next time you're here. Is to play with your foot. I'd have to get my foot in my mouth for me to do that, but so it'd be wet. But anyway, well, that was a blessing, brother. Thank you so much. It's hard to follow that right there. You know, it's so exciting to see people with such talent. Because, you know, the world would suck that talent right up.
That's right.
Man, want to use that talent. But they want to use it for the Lord. They give it back to who gave it to them. They want to be his servant. And they want to bring some laughter and joy and foot patting to the children of the Lord. You know, hey, listen, guys. We need entertainment that's Christian. And, you know, we need to be able to go to celebrate life, celebrate the good things, and then have the tears about the sad things through music like everybody else has. And thank God for these folks that do that for us. They'll come and they'll get us to pat our foot and they'll get us to shed a tear.
That's right.
But that's music used in a powerful way. And we need godly people doing that for us. And I'm so thankful for the singers in our church that they can do that. And these folks that like the Foresters and like I always call them John Denver, but Dinners. What a blessing they've been today. And they're going to be back at 1:30, and he's going to be speaking at 1:30. They're going to have the whole service. And so you might want to kill that. Thank you, brother. All right, so it's hard enough to look at me anyway, but if you got something going on around me, it's even harder. But Acts chapter 26. Acts chapter 26. Acts chapter 26. You do what I say. You know. Acts chapter 26 and verse 1. This is a great passage. The passage itself is kind of the sermon. It's going to preach to you, but I got to wrap it up at the end after I read it. So Paul is standing before Agrippa, the king, and he said, Then Agrippa said unto Paul, Thou art permitted to speak for thyself. Then Paul stretched forth his hand and answered for himself. I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself this day before thee touching all the things whereof I'm accused of the Jews, especially because I know thee to be expert in all customs. Now see, he's buttering him up.
Right.
No, he's using words to keep the attention of the king. And he's acknowledging to the king his authority. He's acknowledging the position he's in, making an appeal to the king. But he's also excited about the opportunity to share the gospel.
Right.
How excited he must be. And so he did not want to lose King Agrippa's attention. He did not want to say anything that would challenge the king and his authoritative position to where the king would not let him finish. He says, I know thee to be expert in all customs and questions which are among the Jews. Wherefore I beseech thee to hear me patiently. My manner of life from my youth, which was at first among mine own nation at Jerusalem, know all the Jews, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify that after the most straightest sect of our religion I lived a Pharisee. And now I stand and am judged for the hope of the promise made of God unto our fathers, unto which promise our 12 tribes, instantly serving God day and night, hope to come. For which hope's sake, King Agrippa, I am accused of the Jews. Why should it be thought a thing incredible with you, that God should raise the dead? I verily thought with myself that I ought to do many things contrary to the name of Jesus of Nazareth. which thing I also did in Jerusalem. And many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests. And when they were put to death, I gave my voice against them. And I punished them oft in every synagogue, and compelled them to blaspheme. And being exceedingly mad against them, I persecuted them even unto strange cities. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests, at midday, O king, I saw on the way a light from heaven, above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me, and them which journeyed with me. And we were all fallen to the earth. I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. But arise and stand upon thy feet. For I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness both of these things which thou hast seen, and of the things in the which I will appear unto thee, delivering thee from the people and from the Gentiles, into which whom I now send thee, to open their eyes, and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. Whereupon, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient unto the heavenly vision, but showed first unto them of Damascus and at Jerusalem and throughout all the coasts of Judea, and then to the Gentiles, that they should repent and turn to God, and do works meet for repentance. For these causes the Jews caught me in the temple and went about to kill me. And so the rest, he goes on and finishes up his discourse. And there's something about this passage that I just want to point out to you that it's made a lot of sense and helped me a whole lot. Just some thoughts that we find here. What did my mind think when I read this story again for the 100th time, or how many times it's been, and I meditated upon it? Well, the first thing that came to my mind was it takes us years. It takes us years of living to learn a lot of information and to accomplish a lot of goals.
Right.
Matter of fact, we can't even accomplish goals until we learn something.
There you are.
Until we learn about that thing which we're trying to labor and work. And so I thought about that. And I thought about that's how life is, that we start out and we have to learn everything. And as we learn, then we do, and we accomplish goals. Or at least we try to. We don't even set goals until we learn certain things. And I thought about how Paul said he was a Pharisee. Do you know what kind of study and time it took for him to be a Pharisee? Do you realize how much he had to pour his life into the Septuagint, the Old Testament, how much he had to pour his life in the study of theology, how much he had to in the customs of Israel and the Jews, and how hard a man and how strict he would have to live.
Right.
And not only that, but he was also impassioned about it. But it took him years, his lifetime, and he labored and he worked for a lifetime. But then I thought about this. It took God a few seconds to change it all.
That's right.
It took God a few seconds to change it all. All of it. All of it.
Right.
You know, there's a Pharisee, but he's a witness against Christians.
Right.
He was the staunchest enemy of Christianity. He said, he told the king, I thought I better do something about this. And so he did. And he had the authority given to him. And he was well known in Jerusalem. And the Jews were using him mightily against this new sect called Christianity. They weren't even called Christians at this time. They were just disciples of Christ. They believed the resurrection. That they found it very offensive. Paul found it offensive. That they would claim he was the Messiah, when he did not at all live up to the expectations they had of the Messiah. And it took Paul years to be the man that they could say, you're the man. You can do this for Israel. You can stop this sect. Here's papers. Go into far corners of the earth and rid the world of these people. Children and women. It took him years to be trusted like that. But it took God just a few seconds. I thought about that. And, you know, I thought that as we go about our life, doing all those things that we had to learn to do, we don't start learning about God until we encounter Him.
That's right.
Oh, people grow up in church. They grow up, but if their heart is resentful, if you've grown up in church and your heart is resentful, and if you're in a place in your life where you say, look, looking back on my church career, it was forced down my throat, it was forced upon me, you know, I never did like going, well, when I get a chance, I'm going to live it up. Or even if you didn't do that, but you just are lethargic and you just never had anything happen between you and God. Oh, but you learned the Sunday school stories. You learned the Bible stories. Oh, you're chugging along in the church maybe, kind of helping folks out, do things that they're doing, and you come and you're pretty regular. But yet, in your heart, you're just acting upon what you've learned. And see, this is how life is. We can't even make decisions without knowledge. We can't, a career path, we ask young people all the time, what are you going to do when you grow up? Well, we know they're not going to be able to decide that until they study and learn things and gain information, and then they make some kind of decision. But then the decision they make then, just like the decision you made, was based upon your qualifications and where that put you at and what you could pursue as a goal. So many people can't pursue things they want to do because they never got the education to do it. So many people end up working jobs and stuck on jobs their whole life because they did not study some other area or field that qualified them to go a different direction.
Right.
This is life. This might be how you are in your faith. But when you encounter God,
There you are.
when something happens between you and God that is supernatural,
right.
that is spiritual, then you make a decision to surrender yourself to that which happened to you. You know, I had lots of plans in my life. I planned, you know, we got music here today. I planned to be a professional musician. When I was a teenage boy, I planned to be in music all my life. I was a rock and roller, but I was also a John Denver picker. I mean, I could do all those styles of music and kind of enjoy them all. And I thought, boy, you know, what a life to live. And so I was preparing myself in my early years of life in high school for that very thing until something happened. Then in a few seconds, God changed it all. I got saved, but that did a number on me.
Oh, yeah.
But I still planned a life of maybe secular music even after I got saved as a young boy and thought about all that for the next couple of years. And I thought, well, you know, I know Christian folks are in secular music and I can still kind of roll along and pursue this thing, even though it was a whole lot of bad stuff involved in it.
Right.
And my conscience was just tearing me all to pieces. But then something else happened.
There you are.
God called me to preach.
There you are.
And it was supernatural.
Right.
I encountered Him. He broke me.
Right.
And everything that I had worked for was finished.
That's right.
I was finished. This is what happened to Paul. He was finished. The life he had was finished. With these simple words, "Who art thou, Lord?"
That's it.
"I am Jesus, whom you persecute." Jesus.
Yes,
And that was it. When he spoke those simple words, then Paul made a decision to surrender to that. And like he told King Agrippa, he said, "What would thou have me to do?" And the night that God crushed me in a missions conference about my life and my purpose, I had the same question. what would you have me to do? I couldn't even ask that question because God was just, you folks have heard my testimony. The first instructions he gave me, thoughts that were circling my mind, and I had no control of my mind. I could not stop the thoughts. I could not even think. But there they were. It's as vivid today to me as it was then. Hey. Cut your hair, quit the rock band, and come preach for me. Right. That was it. And all the years that I had spent preparing my music and learning to be better at it and trying to make connections and running with the crowd I ran with, it was all finished. Right. With those thoughts circling my mind, it was done. In a few seconds, it was over for me. Right. Just a few seconds. But it took years. Hey. But this is how it is when you encounter God.
That's it. Amen.
You'll never be the same. You'll never be the same. I had some folks say when I first announced to my fellow friends and all what I planned to do, I had more than one say, "You'll get over it." Well, it's been 43 years. And all I've managed to do is get under it.
Glory.
And to get under it deeper and deeper.
That's it.
To where now I'm too old to turn back and try anything else. I couldn't do those splits and jump down anymore and pick that guitar anymore. I couldn't dance across that stage like I used to. I'd have a heart attack. Could you see that? Isn't it hilarious? You see these old bands from the 70s and 60s, these old gray-headed, wrinkled, long, stringy-haired, sickly-looking men out there still trying to do all that rock stuff. You know what? If you really want to get a laugh, you ever catch them on TV doing that? You know, little famous groups. Turn the volume all the way down and watch it. Without the music. It's hilarious. Well, you think I've gone to a nursing home and these people have escaped and they're just sick. Well, my goodness, that would be me when you encounter God. And so here's the thing. He said, "But preacher, the Lord hadn't called me to leave what I prepared for. I'm in my career. I'm doing my job. I know that. And God's not going to call everybody to preach. Matter of fact, He called everybody to preach who we preach to. If He called everybody mission field, who'd be back to church to support missionaries? He's only going to call a few people to be in leadership. He's not going to call everybody to be in leadership. But your encounter with God as a child of the Lord and a church builder and a soul winner and a witness for Christ is just as important as my experience with God. God called, and I think Paul said that God chose the weaker things of the world to confound the wise. And he talked about him being a preacher and how he's killed all the day long, and he was the least. And this is true. Sometimes I thank God, and I think in my case maybe it's true, that you don't qualify to be a preacher.
That's right.
You get called, and then you're so humbled because you know that you're so unworthy to serve Him. That then you start learning the job. Hey. But not until you've encountered God. And that's true for you too. Every one of you, every Christian. You have so much to learn about God. You have so much to learn about your personal walk in faith with Him. You have so much to learn about getting answered prayer, about helping the preacher, about doing your job in the church, about being raised up in the church. You got so much to learn. But it doesn't start by you setting out to learn it. It starts with a broken will. Hey. It starts when you get broke. When you get bankrupt. When you lose confidence in your flesh with an encounter with God. It can happen when you're a kid. It can happen when you're a teenager. It happened to me when I was a teenager. It can happen to you at 90 years old. But there's going to be times when you encounter God. And then there's going to be times when you're not going to be able to cast off burdens. You're not going to be able to live with some things that dog you and hurt you. And you're not going to be able to have the grace to endure unless there's something that those things bring you to God and you have a special time with God. Hey. It's kind of when the light comes on and you say, wow,
Yeah.
I could do it now. I done gotten all sick of heart and done gotten all discouraged, I got all down. Like the preacher this morning, like he shared that testimony, he's mad at God. He got to that part where the God who's loved him and saved him and the God who he loved for saving him said those words personal to him that day, personal.
Right.
Come unto me, John.
Hey.
John, come unto me.
Hallelujah.
I'll give you rest.
That's right.
Take my yoke. You're in your yoke. Just take my yoke upon you and what? Learn of me.
Right.
Learn what? Learn my power,
Right.
my forgiveness. Learn my grace. Learn my mission for you. Learn what I have for you. And see the miracles. And the first miracle is a healed heart.
Right.
No more animosity. No more anger. A clean heart.
Hey.
David had to be brought to that place several times in his life to get a clean heart.
Right.
You can only get that by encountering God. You can't get that by learning. You can't learn how to have a clean heart. Oh, you can try to discipline yourself to do things a certain way, but without an event between you and God,
That's it.
it might be through repentance of sin that breaks you, confession of sin. You're not going to cast off those burdens that limit you as a Christian and limit your love for others. You're not going to break them off without something happening
That's right.
between you and God.
Hey. Hallelujah.
It might be this altar where you die to self, where you quit being discouraged with the Lord for all the things He's allowed,
Right.
all the things He didn't fix for you, all the things He didn't do for you. But if you don't have that encounter where you come to Him and say, I'm done, Father, you're everything, and I fully on the rest of it. You're the Lord, and I can't do this anymore for me. All that I've learned has not got me. Nobody seems to care. It hasn't got me where I wanted to go. So maybe I don't even go anywhere except an old altar of prayer
That's it.
and come to you, Father.
Hey.
You know what bothers me. You know the burden I bear. You know what's happened in my life. Father, forgive me. Help me. That's the only type of event
That's it.
that will cause you to learn. You know, I tell you something that really is really a challenge for me, discouragement to me as a pastor, is trying to teach. You know, I've got some convictions. I've got some things, decisions I've made in my life. And I've settled in on a lot of those decisions that I'm so firm on because I didn't get them by learning.
That's it.
I mean, I learned them, but I didn't get them that way. I got them before the Lord on my face
That's it.
and saying, Lord, direct my steps. What do you want me to know?
That's it.
How do you want me to act? That's how I got it. And it discourages me that I'm trying to teach you things that I believe are good, godly things. And yet, if I'm teaching you those things and you had no encounters with God and you're not getting it like that, hey, and you may not even get the same thing I got. My greatest desire is for you, whatever you have with God, whatever relationship you got with God, whatever He calls you to do, wherever He takes you, my greatest desire for you is that you won't get it with the thinking of your mind.
Right.
And you won't learn how to do it by setting out to learn how to do it. But it'll be a result of a broken moment, of a time when God has crushed you with His authority, a time when you surrendered everything to God, a time when you said to Him, I love you.
That's it.
And then wherever He takes you, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
If it's all for His glory and His gain, and He says, I need to do this, I need to do it over here, I need to do it this place, I need to do it like this.
Yeah, bro.
And if you got it on the road to Damascus, then this preacher will never judge you.
Hallelujah.
Each one of you, as a Christian, has got to have a road to Damascus.
That's it. That's it.
And more than once in your life. lots of things
Right, brother.
that God's going to deal with you about.
Right.
Sometimes he just changes everything in a second.
Everything.
All of it.
Hallelujah.
But thank him for that, and then start learning
That's right.
his ways. After you're broken. If you try before, it's going to be futile, and it's going to cause problems.
Right.
You've got to have something spiritual.
Right.
And that's every disciple, every apostle,
Right.
especially called by our Savior.
Amen.
And so many of them had these events. All of them had events where God and them, where they were broken by something. And completely surrendered. All of them. To the point that they all said, they went from hiding in darkness
Right.
to going to the streets to preach, knowing they could be killed and were eventually. But that was all right.
That's it.
You know why? Because they had seen him.
Yeah, that's it.
They had been on that road
All right.
and crushed,
Yes.
and it made everything all right, and it changed their life. That's what we need.
That's right.
Let's bow for prayer. Dear Father, as we come to your throne of grace, help us, Father, to seek this encounter. Seek it more than knowledge.
Oh,
We're never going to have your wisdom unless you have a full control of our heart.
yeah.
And you'll never have our heart without us being broken. You broke Paul. Lord, you broke me.
Thank you.
Oh, Father,
Thank you.
break us all.
Hallelujah.
That we would be so pliable in your hands. And then we could learn. We could make a decision to serve you and learn what it takes.
Thank you.
Oh, Father, help us today. And if there's somebody lost here, Father, let that first encounter be the only one that must be first. And that's that they get saved by the grace and the blood of Jesus Christ. With every head bowed and every eye closed, it could be that believers here today would say, Brother Darrell, pray for me. Pray for me. Can I just see your hands? So don't take it down. We'll pray for you. God bless you. Just pray for me. And maybe there's somebody here not saved. And you know you need to get saved. You played around too long. And today God has pricked your heart. And right where you sit right this moment, if you would just open your heart and pray to God in your heart. Oh, dear Jesus, I am a sinner. I'm lost. And I don't want to perish. Forgive me of my sins. I believe that you're the Christ. Come into my heart. Save my soul. Give me eternal life. And I believe you resurrected. And I believe you're the only way to get to heaven. Please take my life this very second. And I will follow you the rest of the days of my life. With every head bowed and every eye closed, maybe somebody would say, Brother Darrell, I just prayed that prayer. I just prayed that prayer. Can I see your hands slip it up and take it down? If I embarrass you, if I come to you, just slip it up and take it down. Amen. Father, help us during this time of invitation to do what we ought, to do what we know in our hearts should be done. And maybe today, something will break through for somebody. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's stand as we sing. 278 as we sing together. Jesus. Jesus is calling to home, calling today, calling today. Why through the sunshine of love will thou roam, farther and farther away. Calling today, calling today. Jesus is let's do another stanza. You got a lot to learn, but in the spiritual world, you can't. The Bible says the Word of God is not naturally discerned.
Right.
Until you become spiritual, until you have an encounter with God, you'll never be able to understand the Scriptures and the depths of the Scriptures. And even believers who have gotten saved, and so it all starts pouring into their heart, and they start to learn the spiritual things of life. Sometimes we have got to have a re-cleansing and a rededication. Sometimes God has to say, you've allowed this and this and this, and I can't take you forward, and you're all hung up on this and this. And He's trying so hard to have another encounter with you as His child. We're going to sing another stanza. If you need to come, come. We'll not close till the altar's empty. So you do what you need to do as we pray, as we sing. Jesus is waiting. Been a good day in the Lord. It's going to be a better day. Just come on back out and put the icing on the cake at 1:30. Come back and hear some great music and testimony and preaching. I'm sure you'll be blessed. Let's do an offering help for these folks this way today. If you want to give some of their ministry, then go back there and purchase some of their CDs. And if you're going to give more than the cost of what you're going to purchase, give extra. Right back, just give them extra money, all right? Like you would an offering plate. If you don't want the CDs, we won't give them an offering. Just give them an offering. Give an offering so they know who to thank. Right. And you get the blessing of having a handshake and saying, thank you. And so don't leave here till you get by there and do something. If it's just a couple of dollars, they'd like you to put in the plate. So let's do it that way today so that they can shake your hand and thank you for your gift and your purchase. And that way spend a few minutes with these folks as you go out and encourage their heart. Amen. All right, so let's bow for prayer. If you guys want to get back to y'all's table back there, Brother John, and Miss Kate, John and Kate, not going to have 8. But they said, yeah, back there, brother. Okay. We had a hotel fiasco last night. Getting them in a room. Because they're pulling a trade down Florida, it's already winterized and stuff. I said, don't set that up. We'll get you a room. And you can ask me about it. I ain't going to tell you right now, take the time. But you can ask me about it. He said, I said, I can believe it all. It's me. It's our church. I can believe every bit of it. And so you can ask me about that, and I'll tell you what happens. Let's bow for prayer. We're late to go on dismissal.
Lord, we're just thankful for your blessings. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for the word that's been preached, songs that's been sung. Pray that it just point to Jesus. Keep our focus on thee and let you talk to us and lead our lives and help us be yielded to thee. Bless each one. Bring us back for the afternoon service. In Jesus' name we